the special meeting of the Board of Directors of the Sewer Authority Midcoastside for Wednesday, December 29th, 2021. And could we have a roll call, please?
Director Lohman.
Here.
Director Clark.
Present.
Director Penrose.
Here.
Chair Dye.
Here.
So we're missing Director Ruddock and Director Slater-Carter. Slater-Carter just texted me saying she's going to be coming. I haven't heard back from Ruddock though.
She's celebrating her retirement. All right. Well, can we introduce the other members who are on screen with us, joining us today?
Okay, so from Sam, we have only George Evans, our finance officer, and myself, Kishan Prativadi, general manager. That's it from Sam and Susie, sorry, administration department.
And Santa behind me.
And Santa behind you.
And
Yep.
Santa.
And who else is with us?
And then we have John Kropov, auditor, and then we have Peter Medina from Mays Consultants. And there you go. I think join us. So
Oh, good. Here's Catherine.
My apologies. I totally lost track in all this rain.
okay.
Right.
Okay. So
We've had introductions and we started, but we haven't done any business yet. So the first order of business is to re-ratify Resolution 5-2021 for the continuation of virtual teleconference meetings per Assembly Bill AB 361 for the
So
period
moved.
26th.
Second.
Any
yeah, there's a small
questions?
typo in the agenda. It should be January 25th, 2022. January 25th, 2022, not 2021.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Can we have a roll call, please?
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Yes.
Director Slater-Carter,
Yes.
Chair Dye. Okay, Director Ruddock texted me saying she's joining us. So maybe she's having trouble getting in.
Right, well, we could move on to public comment. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak for two items that are not on the agenda?
I would like to make a comment, and I would like to congratulate the staff of all of the public district and agencies on the coast for the excellent work that has been done in situations that we haven't seen for, I heard, somewhere since 1983 with this much rain this early. So congratulations and thank you to GCSD and MWSD and Half Moon Bay and SAM and PG&E and just everybody who's been out there working to keep our community intact and functioning. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Any other comments? All right, we have no consent agenda tonight. Regular business. Receive and file the annual comprehensive financial report. We have the staff report for that, please.
Yes, I have a short presentation and after that, John Cropper will take over and continue. Let me just share my screen, please.
Come on.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So these are the same slides which I presented at the finance committee meeting last week, but for the benefit of others who are not in the committee, I'm repeating the same. So this is the annual comprehensive financial report which we brought to the board today. And typically we've been, for the past few years, we've been doing the basic financial reporting, and now we've done it after a gap of so many years. We've done an annual comprehensive financial report. And I believe this is the ultimate, or this is the most advanced thing which one can achieve in auditing. This is the government. This is basically established by the Government Finance Officers Association, and they've established what's called as a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, a program which is called a COA, which they established in 1945. SAM has been participating in this program from 2004 to 2011 and has received this excellence every year during this period. But for various reasons, after 2011, SAM has not participated in it. So we decided as a team to go ahead and restart this process. And therefore, we completed this and brought it to the board. Now, the objective of this program is basically to encourage and assist state and local governments to go beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles. Like I've said, the normal one is a basic audit, and this is a comprehensive audit. This evidences the spirit of transparency and full disclosure. It recognizes individual governments that succeed in achieving that goal. And it provides, of course, accountability for both the financial and operational information useful to the decision makers of SAM. The goal of the program is not to assess the financial health of the participating governments, but to ensure that the users of their financial statements have the information they need to do so themselves. Now, this ACFR, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, must be submitted no later than 6 months after the government's fiscal year end, which means it should be submitted no later than December 31st of 2021, which we are very, very close. Now, the ACFR has to be received and filed by the board prior to submission, and therefore we brought it to the board today. These reports are typically reviewed by selected members of this agency, which is the GFOA, professional staff, and they have independent auditors, academics, and other finance professionals. And that goes on for a period of almost 4 to 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, then they tell you whether you've got a certificate or not. But I must say that the entire efforts was put in by the finance team. They did an excellent job in putting it together.
Just reading off of his PowerPoints.
I can stop sharing. Okay, yeah. So I must say that the finance committee, as well as the finance team, did an excellent job and supported this particular mission for us to accomplish the ACFR. And of course, we got a lot of help and support from Mays consultants, especially from Peter and his team. And last but not the least, Cropper Accountancy Corporation, John Cropper and his team helped us and made sure that we get everything on time. And at the beginning, when we started, we thought it was a Herculean task. And, you know, we started it a couple of months back, but we thought maybe we'll not make it, but we still went ahead and pursued it, said, in case we don't finish it, at least we'll get prepped up for the next year. But well, everybody rose to the occasion, and here we are. And we have this report in front of you, and I'll pass it on to John Cropper so that he can go ahead and make a short presentation.
Just turned it off.
Okay.
Okay, John.
I'm muting.
Thank you very much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I would like to give congratulations out. I know that the ACFR, as we call it, used to call it the CAFR, is kind of a beauty contest, right? It's not authoritative for an auditor. But, you know, if you look at the ACFR, you're going to see quite a transmittal letter that, you know, fell on Kishan to, from what I understand, I think Kishan did the whole thing. And then the statistical section in the back, there's a financial section, and that's kind of what you've always been getting in the actual ACFR, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. It's good for me to say that because I want to say Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, but I'm not going to say that. So I think we've kind of, the Finance Committee's kind of seen this, but I'll go quickly through because I think we want to have a discussion at the end. But this is the basic financial statements, you know, that we do to comply with the legal and the regulatory requirements. That said, you've kind of exceeded it now. And this board really has given good direction. And I've been very happy to watch the transition, over the years here. Kishan bringing in Peter and his team. And, we had a conversation early and I said, hey, we're independent auditors. We can't do all of what we're being asked to and be independent. And I think that the standards are definitely going that way. Our firm is we audit some public company. We're a PCAOB firm. We can't even do anything but give the opinion. The actual client has to prepare all of the report. So that's the way standards are headed. And there's a good reason for that. So here's the financial highlights you can see in front of you. I want to quickly go through them. And I say the authority's financial position is satisfactory because when we look at the actual statement of net position, I see a little negative number under the unrestricted. It's not a big number. And so, I think the members could clear that out very quickly. And I think that they probably know that. The main thing that the board pays our firm to do is do the audit and to issue the opinion. And you have the highest opinion that an auditor can, give, which is an unmodified, clean opinion. And we state that there under key findings. So that's the most important thing I'm going to say tonight. Secondly, the authority increased their net position to little over $17 million as of June 30, 2021. And I, again, mentioned that net position slightly negative. And the capital assets of about 1708. So that's kind of the difference. Your plant, you can't really sell it. It's not really cash, but it certainly is the difference between your assets minus the liabilities. It's the net position that you have. The third bullet there shows the authority's operating revenues at 6.13 million and operating losses of 7.82, which results in a $1.69 million loss before the contributed capital of 1.99 million. And we're going to go back and visit that in a second, because as it was brought out when we had our meeting with the finance committee is, hey, it's the members of the JPA that are contributing all the money, whether it's cash here and put it below the line for, don't include it in the operating. That's one way of looking at it. And then, below the line is another way of looking at it because you're adding to infrastructure, or it's intended to. The most important thing, other than our, audit opinion, that this I guess commission should look at is the authority did add to the net position that $316,000. So if you look on the statement of net position, you will see the bottom line number where you're adding on the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. You'll see that operating loss, but then down lower, you'll see that change in net position. Here we had nothing really interesting this year, which is great. We had no management letter. No material weaknesses came and were obvious to the auditor. We're not issuing an opinion on that your internal controls are okay. That's not what we're doing. But during the audit, we did not run across some material weaknesses, and we did not, therefore, identify any material weaknesses in internal controls. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means that we didn't identify any. And and so opportunities to strengthen the controls we bring before the finance committee, we didn't really have that this year. The financial highlights, we again are highlighting this total net position of 17.062 million. Most of that, you can see it broken out a little bit better here. The 0.84 million with the unrestricted net position of negative 22,000. So you add those two together and you get that 17.062. And then the net position increase that we're also highlighting in this presentation of 316,000. With the operating revenues being 5.3, 87% of that's coming from assessments. And on the operations, on the expense side, 7.8 million, which is 13% if you broke it down from depreciation. And you do need to pay attention to that number, and 87% from operations and maintenance. And this is just kind of the exact same information, just kind of a little different format. You can see how important the operations and maintenance assessments are to your operating revenue. Here, before we get into a graph on operating expenses, you can see a contrast. And this is also in your management discussion and analysis. This is actually lifted from there. You can see comparative year-to-year numbers of operations with the change in the percentages. And so if that's graphed, you can see that treatment is 49%, a major portion of the operation expenses, administration 25%, et cetera. So I had this note up for the committee before, and you can see the pension. We always talk about the pension under GASB 68. It's 3.1 million on the liability side. And then we've got some timing differences for the deferred inflows and outflows. And then the net pension liability is 750,000 and some timing differences there on the deferred outflows and inflows. And I threw this down at the bottom that the pension and the OPEB are 85% of the whole total liabilities. So you can see the numbers. I did that. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit because I think the Finance Committee really did want me to talk a little bit about capital contributions. So I'm going to go quick. I lifted a couple things from the Blue Book, which is put out by the GFOA. And that's the same people that are doing the CAFR, okay? They are very helpful. It stands for the Government Finance Officers Association. That's what GFOA is. They're very helpful to people like George, right? They're a guide. And if you have one of with the Blue Book, you'll see there's a actual ACFR in the middle of the Blue Book that they quote here, and I'll just read it on the bullet one. The notion underlying the separation of operating grants and contributions from capital grants and contributions is that the latter are not available to the finance regular operations. So this goes to some members of the committee that said, hey, wait a minute, it's all assessments. Why are we putting it down here, right? And it's not something that the auditor's doing. It's a presentation issue. What I'd like to do is drag another, if I can do it, drag another, I got this from George. George sent this over to me, and you can see that this is having to do with the budget. And I've highlighted on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. Can you see that?
Yes.
The infrastructure, there's a proposal, division budgets by fiscal year. I don't know how old this is, but that 1,992,799, that's the exact number that's been broken out for the, we call it capital contributions on page 8 in the financial section, okay? That's how that number became that, because infrastructure is intended, even though it's an assessment that's coming in from the JPA members, it's intended to be for contributions, right, to capital. That's what it's intended to be. And you can see here Let me do this. You can see the George's kind of put a red square around infrastructure. And put it up in operations if that makes you feel fine. It doesn't change the bottom line of the change in net position, that 316. And it kind of, we're trying to say what are the operations and what are the, capital contributions. So I just wanted to open that up. Hopefully that's new information to the district or to the commissioners on the commission. If it's not, and I'm being repetitive, then so be it.
Can I stop you for a moment? I see Director Reddick has a question.
Who has a question? Oh,
Director
okay,
Reddick.
Debbie. Yeah.
Not a question. I'm just summarizing what you're saying. Infrastructure assessments are not available to pay for operations.
Are you saying they are not available?
If we're being assessed for infrastructure, for capital costs, that money is not available for operations. It's available for infrastructure. It's not operations. To us, it's always been a fallacy to identify infrastructure assessments as operating items. They're not. It's capital. Capital is
I agree with you.
from operating.
I agree with you, but there was some discussion at the finance committee level, hence we're talking about it. As an auditor, I would want to see a board resolution if that classification or that allocation were moved from below the line where you have, your operating loss.
I think the concern was not so much in the way it is presented. We understand the requirements of accounting. However, the notion in your previous audit reports that said that we were losing money every year.
You are. I mean, that's what the...
We pay
so
the costs of SAM every year. We are assessed and we pay the costs.
Okay.
And
I'm just gonna reiterate, and I'm looking objectively at this. When you have the operating revenue less the operating expenses, and we show operating loss of 1.6 million, that is objectively speaking, a loss before you consider capital contributions.
Even though,
And to your point, you're doing a lot of repairs and maintenance and, you know, things that may be capital. And that's the point. This year you did an awful lot because you went from having unrestricted monies to a negative 22 in the unrestricted monies. So it's not the strongest position financially. And I know that you on this, I know the thinking is we're representing 3 members and we can go to those districts and we can ask for more money. And that's not how I, as the auditor, looked at it. I look at it like you have the permit and, you know, this entity needs to be stable financially on its own in advance of the repair, in advance of the need.
all right, well, let's move on from this because I think we've been through this multiple times and I don't think we're going to be able to hash this out tonight. I think there's a way.
I do think we need to agree that there's an operating loss. Any way you look at it, it's an operating loss, right? So.
Well, I'm done with my presentation. I hope I'm not leaving you guys on a bad note. I'm trying to present objectively what your financial condition truly is. If you were going out for a bond and I was a bond guy, he would agree with me. And that's kind of where I'm at. I would like to see, as an auditor, objectively looking at this, I would like to see about half of your operating expenses in the unrestricted area. On the page 7, the unrestricted net position is negative 22. I, as an auditor, think you would be in a very strong position if you had, I don't know, I'll even say 25% of your net, your operating expenses. So it is a big chunk of money for those members. I'm not disagreeing with that.
And where would that money go?
So if you took the cash, and this is kind of how other agencies operate, you kind of do an assessment. Are we going to do any projects, or are we going to do something where we go out and get debt? Those are the 2 options to get money to do things.
We're not going to get debt. So talk about projects.
So it's an option for some agencies. So they either raise the rate and have more money so they can, you know, accumulate it in that net position area. Effectively, their assets get bigger and their net position gets bigger. And
we need to have money sitting in the bank that we're not using that keeps our net position better.
yes,
Essentially.
yeah,
That's what
in
I
essence,
thought.
yeah.
Essentially, we need to give Sam $1 million to sit there and earn interest in order for our net position to look
Stronger.
satisfactory to you. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to be
That's
frank,
what I've understood from
right.
looking at it the last 2 years. Okay, I hear you. Does anyone else have further questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
If
I
there's
totally
nothing
want to
further-
thank you, and I want to thank the team that worked on this so hard.
Absolutely.
I really want to make the point that when the previous general manager left, the financials of this entity were in very bad shape. They had taken on a new computer system that was complicated, and they did not have. And over the past 2 to 3 years, Mays Consulting with Peter and our own wonderful George Evans have labored long and hard to fix the problems that they inherited. And I think a lot of credit goes to the people who worked on this and to got us to this point to a nice clean audit. And I don't think we can underestimate the value of that, even though we may have some minor issues with how it.
I would endorse everything you just said, Commissioner Dye. I love working with George and Peter and Kishan and your team. What that slide that came up today was just given to me off. I sent an email and I said, hey, they're looking for this, and bam, perfect, exactly. It was repetitive for you guys, but for me, it was great information to have for tonight. So,
All right, thank you very much.
all
I have a
right.
couple questions on some of the pages of this report, just some minor questions.
Sure, absolutely. What page?
76 of the staff report. So
You might have to give me the actual page number on the page because I'm not on the PDF that
Well,
you guys are.
I think
Is
this
it-
is more a question for Sam staff.
Okay.
Page 76 of support. So we no longer have unrestricted, we no longer have any restricted funds. This is showing 2021, all of the funds are unrestricted. Just confirmation, is that true?
Sorry, can you, so
76.
we're on, yes, page 76 is the stats page, stats table number 1, where we show our fund balance. $17 million is net investment in capital assets. The remaining is the negative $22,000 of unrestricted net assets. There is no other dollars that can go toward restricted. The funds just don't exist.
Okay. All right. My other questions are kind of like, are not exactly on the topic, but they're questions related to the report. I was curious about looking at page 80 and the sewer fees. And I wanted to ask, this shows the comparison of the sewer rates of Half Moon Bay and GCSD and Montera. And it's showing the annual base rate. Our GCSD rates are a flat rate for all of our customers. Is that the same in Half Moon Bay? I was just trying to understand. Or do some residential customers pay more than the flat rate? Does one of you from Half Moon Bay know the answer to that?
Yes, we have variable rates. We have different rates for ADUs than we do single family homes. Commercial is different from residential. Yeah, we have variable rates.
Okay, but residential homes are flat?
Single family homes are flat.
Okay.
The difference is with if you have ADUs, whether it's a junior ADU or a detached ADU. Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. I just wasn't clear on that. I just wanted to comment on page 82. You have 10 largest employers on the coast side, and a couple of those are not on the coast side, not in our area, just so you have that. Nick's Restaurant is up in Pacifica, and La Honda Pescadero School District are not in our district. So take a look at that maybe, so that that's accurate. And actually, I would just say page 84, I thought was really interesting. The effluent BOD, looking at how much the actual number has gone up during 2021, that the average effluent BOD has gone from 15 in 2020 to 25.3 in 2021. The cutoff is 40, right?
40, yeah, I think it's 45.
45. But even so, I think it was interesting to see that number, the actual average number. That's a major increase. And, it's something I know we've been focused on, but I was just surprised by, the size of that number. And I thought it was worth pointing out.
Yeah, and while you're on that page, I don't know if you observed the average electricity used kilowatt hour per day actually decreased from 2017. It was 4056, and 2018 was 3620. that decreases because of the use of turbo blowers.
Yeah.
We commissioned turbo blowers from centrifugal blowers to turbo blowers, so we saved a lot of energy, and that shows up here in this chart.
Yes, good point. Well done. Those were, I think, my relatively minor questions about the report. Anyone else have questions?
Yes, I see two questions, one from
Okay.
Director
Debbie,
Radek
do
and
you
one
still
from
have your
Clark.
hand up or you have more questions? Okay. Matt.
Yes. Well, we're asking questions about the report itself. I don't claim to be an auditor or an accountant, certainly, but I do look at some of the numbers. On page 35, we have table 2. And the first line, O&M assessments, you go from fiscal 20 to fiscal 21, and I can't see where this variance number comes from. There's no way that I can.
So where are you? Are you on page 35?
Table
of
2.
your PDF?
Yes, it's actually page 35 of the report as well, John.
Yeah, table 2 is condensed revenues, expenses, and charges in net position.
Right.
MD&A.
So you're on page
35.
35 of the report.
Table 2.
I think there's a simple answer.
I don't know what table 2 is, sorry.
That's what it says, table 2. Okay.
Are you in the MD&A?
Yes.
Is that okay? Table 2 in the MD&A. Okay, I see where you're at. Okay, so in table 2, what's the question?
On the first line, O&M assessments, there's numbers given for fiscal 20 and fiscal 21, and then the variance is given as 384. I can't get those numbers to. I can't get those numbers.
Yeah, because it doesn't work. Yeah, that's wrong.
To give us 384. I think the simple answer is that for fiscal 21, that's a typo. It should be 5314.
1616. Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, it should be 5314.
Thank you.
Good catch.
And then on down near the bottom, total net position begin. I can't see where that variance number came from either.
Probably wrong. The variance column is supposed to be fiscal 21 minus 20. So any differences other than that, you can't get because they're errors.
Well, maybe this is a typo again, because if you take fiscal 20 from fiscal 21, you get 2223, not 1223.
Okay, we'll review the variance column again. Thank you very much for bringing it up.
Okay. And I have several other questions, but not about the report as such.
Want to go ahead and ask your questions now?
Are we done discussing the actual report?
I have a question. Could we take these questions at another meeting so we can get back to drinking and partying?
Well, some of my questions go to why we're having this meeting. This is, I consider this very extraordinary. We have a special meeting for a single issue called on December 29th. Neither the agenda nor the staff report gives the reason that we have the board has already been given for why we need this special meeting, which is that, as the general manager mentioned at the beginning, to get this award, this has to be submitted by the end of this year. I try to think as a member of the interested public, and I would be interested to know why are they holding a meeting on December 29th on this one issue. And I think it would have been better to put into the staff report and the agenda itself why this meeting was called. This revolves around attempting to get this award that hasn't been applied for since 2011. So, 10 years later, it's now important enough that we have to call a special meeting between Christmas and New Year's.
I think your point.
So I guess that's more of a comment than a question. But I've also not missed any meetings this year, and I haven't heard about this at all. I certainly don't recall hearing anything about it. I don't know when did SAM decide that they wanted this award and they would work on this? I don't know, because it's never been brought up. When did they start actual work on it? And why are we hearing this now? It's never been mentioned at the board.
Well, we thought we'll bring it to the board only once it's completed. We were not sure whether we'll be able to complete it in time. Otherwise, we would have just finished the basic financial reporting. We just thought we'll aim towards it. If we're able to do it, then it's fine. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and finish the basic part of it. And this has been the practice. I mean, this is being followed at City of Half Moon Bay every year. So people are aware of the ACFR. It's there. Once you get it started, then it becomes easy to do it every year. So it is just the beginning, because we'll have to compile for the past 10 years, data for the past 10 years. So it was a Herculean task. We were not sure whether we'll be able to complete it or not.
Would we have heard that if you hadn't been able to do it?
Yeah, the finance committee would have definitely known about it.
Well, again, communication with the board, I think, is lacking here. As a member of the interested public, I have to wonder why we're, like I said, we're having this meeting on December 29th about this one issue that's never been mentioned in the last calendar year.
Well, let's finish this meeting. I think your point is valid, Matthew.
My last question is, how much did this cost SAM to do? We haven't heard anything about that either.
I don't have it right now, but I can definitely bring it to the board in the next meeting, how much it costed us to hire consultants for this, but I will not be able to account for the staff time because both George and me are not hourly based. So we work round the clock as and when required after office hours, so we cannot account for those times. So we would not be able to put staff time on that.
Well, it's been mentioned a couple times that this was a Herculean task, and Hercules doesn't clean those stables for free.
Oh yeah, of course. It is a Herculean task because
So I'd like to know if the public, as an interested public person, if the public has received a Herculean reward or anything for this.
See you, Catherine. I'm letting Matthew finish.
So in order to know if this was worth doing, we need to know how much it cost. And we should have known that it was going on. Thanks.
Thank you, Matthew. Catherine.
Thank you. I supported having this meeting. I supported going for this award because our finance team has taken us from being floundering around financially to being able to apply for this award. I think it counts very well for our PR and our relations with the public about how we manage our money. I think image and what we do to be transparent and to make our finances clear and available for the public, particularly in this particular award, which looks back 10 years, helps our public relations. And that's very, very important to me. I look forward, Matthew, to having you on the finance committee next year so you can hear more about this stuff.
I'm going to be declining that.
Maybe
All right.
one of the things.
Go ahead.
I'm not done.
I know.
Maybe one of the things we can do is put the committee agendas in the manager's report so that they're available for discussion for the other board members to be able to see what's going on. And that might be one way to get get more information to those who need committee reports and so on in more detail. With that, I'm going to suggest that we approve this and send it out with the typos corrected.
All right, is that a motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
All right, any further discussion of the motion? All right, can we have a roll call? This is to receive and file, correct?
Yes, so receive and file the ACFR for SAM for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021.
All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Director Radek,
Aye.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark, Director Clark,
I rather, this seems rather farcical to me. I'm going to abstain.
Director Penrose,
Aye.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Chair Dye. Chair Dye.
I would like to also to make the point to the public that correcting the problems of that were inherited by this financial team has cost us well over $300,000 in
Yes.
accounting time and everything else to get things working properly. So I think that is an accomplishment. Whether this report actually shows that or not, it seems like, anyway, I'm not really impressed by the detail of the report, but I think it's a good thing to do to sum everything up. So moving on, I'm looking forward to hear General Manager's report.
So Chair Dye, did I hear you say yes? I didn't hear you vote yes.
Oh, yes, I said yes right at the beginning.
Sorry,
Yes.
I didn't hear you.
Yes, I said a solid yes at the beginning.
I missed that too. It must have been when you were switching your mic on.
Okay, sorry. Yes, and then I just want to make the additional point that, again, my emphasis on getting things straightened out from what the previous financial team had left Sam with. And so it's great to have things running more properly. I still have some issues with some of the ways that I'm not an accountant. So trying to understand and see how the material is presented is complicated, and I'm working on it. Anyway, I'm very interested to hear the general manager's report with the additional storms and how the plant is. And I know everyone is eager to finish tonight at an early hour, so I would like to move on unless people have further comments. Okay, moving on to general manager's report.
Oh, I don't have anything specific on the general manager's report because I was planning on a detailed one at the January 10th meeting. It's just that we survived the storms and staff worked around the clock, and I had kept the the entire details has been shared with the board earlier, but just wanted to let you guys know that we managed to survive these two storms with no spill, no SSOs, and staff worked around the clock, and it was well under control. I don't have any details. I'm not prepared for it. I was planning on doing with the numbers, with the flows and all that at the January meeting, because I believe everybody wanted this meeting to be a short one.
I know, but I think we're all interested in hearing how the plant is surviving with these big storms, one after another. And the streams
Yes.
are certainly high, and the water level in the ground is certainly high. And even though we haven't had one big wham of a storm, we've had storm after storm after storm, and it's good to hear that the plant is coping adequately with this.
Sure, we are pretty close to an overflow because I think the north side of Sam received major rainfall compared to the south side this time in the recent storms. So we were pretty close to an overflow in the Montera Walker tank, which we have there. That's about, I think it's 434,000 gallons, but we are pretty close there. It doesn't overflow from the Walker tank there, but it overflows from a manhole outside the Montera pump station. We were watching. It did not. We were watching pretty close. It did not. So we did not have any overflows. It was well within control. But there was a lot of tension, and people were all stressed, and we were watching it. And fortunately, the rain stopped, and then water started receding. So we did not have any issues. We did not have any overflows.
And that was the second set of storms.
That was the second storm.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Do we need to go to any of the other topics on the agenda, or are we ready to close this meeting?
Close.
I think we're done. Everyone, Happy New Year to all, and we will see you next year. Thank you all for coming on this Thursday night. So good night. Happy New Year.
Happy New
Thank
Year,
you.
everyone.